Okay, guys, we're live and it's Wednesday once again. So, hello, my loves. It's Wednesday and welcome to another episode of Getting Candid with Rochie. For those of you who are new here, Getting Candid with Rochie is a weekly online event here at the Frigalista Mom Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel where I invite a guest or two and we will talk about a topic that I know is close to our hearts. Now, since it's a live event, please make sure that you make your presence felt by giving us a like, a heart, or even some hugs. I know we have those icons there. And also, if you have any questions, you can use the comment section and we'll try to answer your questions during this 1 hour event. Now, let's get started. Today's topic is something that I know is very close to your heart. It's close to my heart and also with my guest because it's very relevant right now. It is about managing childhood stress and anxiety. As you know, the pandemic has caused so much stress and anxiety, not only to parents, but also to the kids as well. Now, here's a little tidbit or a little trivia for me. For I am okay. Where am I? Can you hear me, guys? Okay, there you go. Yeah, because I can't hear myself. Now, here's a little trivia for me. This topic is very close to my heart because pre kids, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I worked as a peer counselor, I worked as a peer minister, and also, before kids, one of my first jobs after college is being a trainer for personal development and customer service in a multinational company. So, stress is one of the big topics we always discuss about that. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my friends today. First off, she is a licensed professional counselor and the founder of the Cambridge Professional Center here in Morristown, New Jersey. Please welcome Jenna Sunmer. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, thank you so much. It's so
And,
nice to be here.
and with us today is another licensed clinical social worker with over 10 years of experience in the field. It's Kristen McCormick. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, how's the weather there in New Jersey? As if
Cloudy.
cloudy with a chance
Yes.
of what? Meatballs falling down? I know, right? I'm probably expecting that meatballs would come out soon because I've been hearing so much in the news, right?
I know.
California. There was one time they said in California there's a fire tornado.
Oh,
And then
wow.
they were talking about bugs and whatever, so I'm like, hopefully it's food coming down from heaven,
Right.
right?
Nothing would surprise us in 2020. It's the year of everything.
It's so crazy, right? So let's get started, ladies. I would just like to know more about you, and maybe our guests would love to know more about you too. So let's start with Jenna. What did
Okay.
you de- what made you decide to be a counselor?
Well, that's a good question. As Kristen and I were talking, really at a very pretty early age, I was diagnosed, unfortunately, with Crohn's disease. And if you know what Crohn's disease is, or even if you don't, it's a disease of the intestinal tract, of the GI tract, and it can be anywhere from mild or moderate to severe. And what I kind of noticed through my journey with that was that there were a lot of support for the physical help, a lot of really quality medical care, but not as much emotional care. So when I lived in Michigan, I started to go back to get a degree in counseling so that I could really help children, adolescents, and families with chronic illness. And then when we moved to New Jersey, I started the Cambridge Professional Center, which is in Morristown and works with children, adolescents, and families. We work with chronic ill, but we also work with so many children with anxiety, depression, behavioral issues. It's really turned into much more of an all-inclusive type practice. And in addition to that, I work at a private school as the director of the Learning Center in northern New Jersey. So I've been there for 11 years and I've had the practice for about 15 years. So the Crohn's kind of got me into it, but I think the enjoyment of children and kind of the intellectual stimulation kept me in it.
Oh,
If that makes sense.
how about you, Kristen? What's your background?
So my background, as you mentioned, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. All throughout kind of growing up, my young adulthood, I always enjoyed kind of working with children. And as I kind of learned more about different options and opportunities, I really found that being able to do that individual or small group work with children and families and help them kind of recognize what their innate strengths are and provide some supports so that they could achieve their potential really kind of spoke to me. And I became a certified school social worker as well as a licensed clinical social worker. And I had the privilege of spending my first 10 years of my career working at this pretty amazing out-of-district school for children, kindergarten to 12th grade, who had different behavioral, emotional, and mental health challenges. And I think it was there where I truly started to develop this passion for helping others and helping them kind of find the ways that worked for them to achieve their potential. We had so many students come in with many mental health diagnoses and just struggling, and to be able to work with them on a daily basis and watch them grow, develop, and achieve these things that they didn't think was possible when they started with us was just inspiring. And so finding ways to reach families and children and provide much needed supports in different ways really kind of became a passion of mine. And then, Jenna and I connected at Cambridge a number of years ago, and I guess the rest is history.
Yeah.
Really, it's the passion around children's mental health that I think is, we were lucky enough to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good because actually gets I'm in my everybody knows this. I'm in my 40s right now. I would say during our younger years, I considered you in our age group. We don't really talk much about childhood stress or anxiety. I think mostly parents would say, why are you stressed? You got free food, you got free house, you got free, like, why are you stressed? But when I was growing up, I said I'm fortunate not to have that much stress in my life. But then, because of my psychology background and then having worked as a peer minister for high school or a peer counselor, high school and college, I've seen, the stress among my friends or those people who really need it. Like, all of us have been in different situations that I think, and then when I had my kids, one of my first, I would say, priorities is actually to look for the stresses psychologically on them, because I'm very much aware of it. Like, because most my kids have multiple food allergies, and I know it was really a stressful time for them. And in my experience handling their food allergies, I realized it's not, I think the challenge is just 30% on finding the food.
Mm-hmm.
The other 70% is actually more, I would say, mental and emotional, because being in that situation, just like you, Jenna, you said you had Crohn's.
Mm-hmm.
It's an invisible disease. It's
That's
not,
right.
or it's an invisible handicap. But, you're handicapped invisible to most people, and they don't know, those struggles. And I think um, that made me become more attuned with, children or younger kids. I would say even teenagers, of their dealing with anxieties. Now, let's talk more for those who are not aware much about the difference between stress and anxiety. Jenna, will you define stress, or what's the
Sure.
definition of stress and anxiety?
Sure. I think that's I think it's a good point you made. There's definitely a generational difference, that we see with dealing with stress. And even working in a private school, I can tell you that a lot of parents are like, what do you have to be stressed about? But I can tell you that a lot, as we know, the stress and anxiety level in children continues to increase. Stress is a strain on the system. Stress, clinically speaking, is any pressure that is put on a system or individual. And there's a certain amount of normal stress. There's a certain amount of stress that we need to kind of stay alert and stay awake. And stress is really our body's way of kind of keeping that safety and alertness and awareness. And it's only when, because I think everybody is familiar with, like the bell curve of you need a certain amount of stress to perform optimally. Too much, and you can kind of move into the more anxiety. Too little, and you don't have enough motivation to perform. So I think that with what we're seeing today is we're seeing that increase, that bump in the stress go from like what we would consider a normal, even though we don't like to use that word, strain on the system or pressure on the system, to something that's overloading the system and something that a child then has to learn how to manage. And it can be very difficult. Does
How
that
about
make sense?
yeah, it does. And how about anxiety? Because most people would say, "Oh, I'm just anxious," or "I'm just stressed." They usually like use those words.
They
Um,
use the words
yeah,
interchangeably,
yeah.
and the anxiety is, and I think Kristen is going to talk a little bit about this. If but the anxiety is kind of when you're moving into a state that's there's something you may want to do, but you don't feel you're able to do it because of the heightened emotion, the heightened nervous system is not kind of allowing you to push through that.
Okay. So, Kristen, will you continue from what Jenna said?
Sure, sure. I think the point that Jenna was getting to is that everybody experiences stress and anxiety throughout their lives, right? There's a typical amount, a normal amount that's good for us, but it's when that stress, that anxiety, that nervousness, that whatever it is, it kind of crosses over to where it's impeding your day-to-day life. It's interfering with some basics that need to get done. It's consuming more time than it's not consuming, is when we that's the difference, I think, between anxiety and an anxiety disorder, right? Where you would look to seek out some more support, because we all experience anxiety. There's different situations. For me, performing on a stage in front of hundreds and hundreds of people would give me some anxiety. Does that necessarily mean I have an anxiety disorder? No, but that situation makes me nervous. But it's when it becomes to where a person can't do things that they used to be able to do, or the things that are required from a day-to-day basis. That's different for children, teenagers, adults.
Right.
That's when it becomes more into the an anxiety disorder, and possibly needing some additional supports.
Right. I think that's exactly right. I think it's that it's not only what you may be required to do, all the way from like school refusal to something that you want to do. Like if you want to get on a plane and you don't feel like you are able to do that. Well, if you never want to fly, then that's not a problem. But if you do want to fly, if you do want to make that part of your lifestyle, then that is where you would need some help with managing your anxiety.
Now, I would have a follow up for Kristen because, like the schools are actually one of our best resource, like the guidance counselors, the teachers,
Yes.
when it comes to like, I would say not diagnosing, but finding out the signs that, a child is extremely stressed or anxious. And, right now most of us will not go back to school in a normal way, like,
Right.
like a normal interaction one.
Right.
And most kids, like my kids, will be home with me for the next probably few months because of remote learning. So what
Right.
are the signs that parents should watch out for, to see if
Yeah.
their children are stressed or anxious already?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that's so important. And I think, um, the first sign to really pay attention to as a parent is, as a parent, you know your child the best. Okay. So when there's a significant change in any direction, that's an indicator. Let me look a little further into this. Let me see what's going on. So it could mean, and I say that because everybody, kids, teenagers, adults, deal with stress and anxiety in a different way. Um, and so by looking for a change from your child's typical behavior, it could mean the child's appetite has changed. They're eating a lot more, they're eating a lot less. They're sleeping a lot more, they're sleeping a lot less. They're overly emotional when they didn't used to be overly emotional. They're more withdrawn, they're more irritable, they're testing more boundaries. I think a big one too right now is they're that is a big indicator is they're seeking a lot of reassurance. They're questioning a lot, the same question. Now there are kids that are just naturally curious, and from the time they're born they're asking questions. If that's how your child is, that's not a cause for
Yeah.
concern. But if all of a sudden, kind of out of the blue, your child's constantly saying this or asking the same question about the same topic multiple times a day, that could be an indicator. Maybe something's going on here. Let's see what's going on. And I think another really important thing to pay attention to is the emotional climate in the house. So as you said, this is an incredibly stressful time. Things are unknown, things are changing on a regular basis, and that's probably one of the scariest times, right? When we don't know and there's no roadmap for it. So paying attention to what the emotional climate is in the house, what the tension level is among all members of the household, and the stress level is really, really important because that can impact children significantly.
Thank you. Okay, another follow up on that, because I think it's easy to see when they are younger, the
Yes.
big changes. Now I have right now I have two in middle school and two in high school. And these are actually say, their moods are really crazy and their hormones are crazy on this age. Are there like maybe two or three that are maybe signs that we might look out for that is not like, probably, I think this is not a hormonal thing, you know?
Oh, that's $1 million question.
Yeah. Because they are like hiding, they have their phones and or
I
Are you
think
talking too about causes of stress, like common causes in addition to the pandemic?
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know, like maybe like what are the signs that could probably, they have to watch out for?
Hmm.
Because I know some kids will be, I don't know, is it like the nail biting, like maybe some signs that they don't usually do that, or
yeah, and I think that kind of goes absolutely. Any and I know I said this before, anything different than what your child was previously doing. So there certainly are nervous habits, nail biting, hair pulling, picking, biting of the lip, things like those are, physical things you can see for sure. If they're for teenagers are hard because you're absolutely right. They like to kind of pull away from the parents and they're more social, and right now they can't be as social and they're on their phones or social media. And so, I would recommend, I think, being able to check in with them, and having this open space to kind of talk about it and just provide that space. They're hard too because they don't always want to talk about it, right? They're a little
yeah,
more private. Absolutely.
very private.
Right, right.
I think too, regressive behaviors. So
Yeah.
if you see your child who is a middle schooler kind of revert back to some of the behaviors that they may have had in elementary school, that's another good sign that there's something that they're just not internally feeling okay about.
Is there like maybe a sign that maybe is there a specific thing that you might, a series of things that they might be doing that would, when do you think it's time for them to have that, I would say, time to go to a professional help?
Mm-hmm.
Any signs that you think we should watch out for?
You want to take it, Jen, or you want me to answer?
I'll ping forth. I mean, I think we were talking about definitely changes in a lack of sleep. I think with even difficulty falling asleep or difficulty staying asleep, because sleep is so important, as there's study after study about teenagers, middle schoolers, of how the brain really does recharge and rest and is able to manage the nervous system through sleep. So I think changes in sleep are really important. I think Kristen said that changes in appetite, if you eat a lot more, eating a lot less, those are, kind of telltale signs. What else are we?
Okay.
Oh, is she frozen?
Okay.
I'll kind of jump on that a little bit. I think too, one of the things I think as moms, we sometimes, we feel it and we kind of overlook it, or we try to rationalize it or whatever. But I think if there's that feeling in your gut that you're uncomfortable, you're unsure, that something's just not kind of adding up or feeling right, I think we need to trust that. And I think it's worth exploring that by either reaching out to a professional. I think most counselors are going to have a conversation with you on the phone and kind of work through it a little bit, but before bringing you in and saying, yeah, definitely. But they might be able to talk to you about, is it an age appropriate thing? Is it developmentally appropriate? Or is this a bigger reaction to what's going on? And maybe it is a good idea to get some additional support outside. So I think paying attention to that as a parent is really important.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for that. And now, we know this pandemic has been really stressful, and because of the uncertainty and the drastic changes. Now, Jen, will you provide us some tips on how to explain the new normal to at first maybe elementary school kids, middle school kids, and then high school?
Okay, so in other words, like what it may look like, or what,
maybe the expectations, because like right now they don't, the school is, they're not going to normal school, like normal back to school,
right?
So how are we going to explain these things to
Right.
them, like probably age appropriately?
Exactly, age appropriate. And I think that's a really, again, another important and really good question. And I think we agree that absolutely having the clear and consistent communication with your children is so important, and that they can have conversations at any ages. So if they're in elementary school, it is totally appropriate to bring up and give them some space and time to have conversations. They are hearing words like pandemic, quarantine, from COVID-19, and they may have some questions about, but they may not be the questions that are in our adult brains.
Yeah.
So the idea is to take your cue from them, but to realize that the communication is equally as important. So if we get questions all the time, should we address it? Yes, absolutely, because we don't want it to become an elephant in the room. And oftentimes with parents, they may have the worst case scenario in their head, or they may have a lot more breadth of knowledge, and the child just wants an understanding of what the word virus means, or why the virus looks like a thorny crown. Mm-hmm. And then also when we don't talk to them, just like how we can let our imaginations go away with us, children let their imagination go away with them. So if they don't get age appropriate information, they're kind of left to kind of, take pieces and bits that maybe they heard a piece from the news, or maybe they heard a piece from their friend, and kind of try to put it together. Whereas, again, as a parent, you want to provide that communication and then take your cue from them. They might be fine after you answer 2 of their questions, and they may be on to the next thing. Or it may be a high schooler that has, hey, a little more deeper concern. I think that's one piece of the bringing it up and talking with children at this time, because it absolutely is going to change. They're going to be going back to school, then they're going to be coming home. It's going to be there's a lot that's competing for their attention in this particular space and time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, because like with their phones, with the internet, they get so much information, and I agree. My mom didn't have to deal with that at that time.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
For us, it's like, okay, mom said it's fine, but now it's like, mom, and most of the time they will not ask you. They will already like absorb all those negative things, and you're like, we already know, and like, you already know what. and
Right.
and it's funny because a few times my kids will be like, I would ask, they would tell me, Mom, did you know that they already said that we have a half a day schedule? Like, how did you know? I didn't even get any memo. And so I think it's really important for us to talk to our kids, especially on this time. And I know it can be busy because many parents are actually working from home and didn't have that, like, you can't disturb me for the next 5 hours or 8 hours. But it is tough. It is really a tough situation.
It is. And I think that there's just a continual change. So we're almost in a constant state of transition. And I do want to mention too that I think we really think it's important to have children understand that there is hope, and there is that people have lived through this before, and that this will get better. Because another one of their top concerns, in addition to the age appropriate defining, et cetera, is, are they safe? Are they going to be safe? Are they going to be taken care of? Are they going to be, and I think we can agree that children of all ages kind of have that somewhere in the back of their mind. A 5-year-old, it might be front and center. A 16-year-old, it might be floating around like, am I going to be okay? So those kind of constant reminders that we're going to get through this.
Now we've dealt with so much stress now already, right? To talk about stress. So, Kristen, will you give us some coping tips that we could use, to try to alleviate those stress and anxiety that kids will be experiencing right now, or have been experiencing right now?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question. I'll be honest. And if I had like this magic ball and magic wand, I'd be the most popular person, I think. But I think for all ages, and I know we're talking about children in particular, and it's a little more kind of black and white and straightforward with children, but I think this kind of is for children through adults. One of the basics, I think, is finding and keeping a new routine, right? We all kind of live on routines and structure and schedule. And for young children, that structure, that routine, really, they thrive on it. It provides this sense of security, this safety. I know what to expect. I know what I'm going to do. That has all changed, right? Now, this is uncharted territories. We are in daily changing, world right now. So anything that can still be the same, and it can be as simple as you wake up, you brush your teeth, you get dressed, you have breakfast. You've got a couple things that are always going to be the same. You go to school. Okay, school might look a little different, but you're still going to school. Then you've got lunch, and then still providing that structure, that bedtime routine, that that break time in the middle of the day, whatever it is for the child and their family, I think is so, so crucial. And it's going to be different for every family. Parents are working from home, kids are remote learning, whatever it is, it's going to be a new routine, but trying to maintain that, even as adults, it helps. So I think that's number one. I think number two, for everyone, I think finding something, at least one thing a day. And it can, if you can do more than one thing, that's even better, but at least one thing a day that's just for your enjoyment, that's purely because you like it, whether it's listening to your favorite song, taking your dog for a walk, drawing, painting, playing music, doing 5 minutes of yoga, anything that's just for you. And that goes for everyone, right? The young children, the teenagers, parents. It can be 5 minutes one day, it could be 30 minutes another day, but having that time carved out where it's truly just about you doing something you like can really kind of change perspective or take you away from the stress and the anxiety of all that's going on. So that would be my second one. My third one probably is more for teenagers and adults, but, and I think we've mentioned it already, is really limiting the news. The news is hard right now.
It is hard.
It is hard. So limiting, and we're surrounded by it. We pick up our phone and there's an alert. We open up our computer and we've got an email about something. We turn the TV on. I mean, it's everywhere. We talk to somebody and we're talking about it. So really finding a way to turn it off for a little while. Give yourself a break from it. And I think how that impacts kids is, you know, if the TV's on and they're talking about something that's maybe like thousands of miles away, the kid catches 3 minutes of it and all of a sudden they've created this story as to what's going on and it's down the road, right? They don't know, they don't have the context. So really managing that. I think one of the things that I really use with a lot of my clients is worry time. This is a worrisome time in our lives right now, and we spend, I think I can speak as a mom, I spend a ton of time worrying. It's kind of like my second job, I feel like right now. But
your third or fourth job.
or my fourth or my fifth, whatever. But I think for kids, we all know if we're worrying too much, it's not good for us. We don't feel good. It's exhausting. You know, we need to find a way to manage that. And so creating a time during the day, a time again that works for your schedule, from 3 to 3:15, from 5 to 5:30, whatever it is every day, where okay, I'm gonna spend my time on my worries. I'm gonna write them all down. I'm gonna say them out loud. I'm gonna talk to somebody about them. I'm gonna draw them if I can't write, and getting them all out. And then when that time's up, kind of shutting the door. Okay, my worry time's over. And if another worry pops up later on, I'm just going to say, my worry time is at this time tomorrow, and really try to push it until then. And that also allows you to take back some control of your thoughts and work to manage that. Because it really, you know, if we can control our thoughts, we're going to be able to change kind of how we feel and what we end up doing. So having that worry time, and a kid could be tell their stuffed animal or their pet about their worries. It doesn't necessarily, because I know parents are super busy, but you know, different ways to kind of have that. I got 2 more for you.
That's awesome. I love it. Go for it.
I would say one of the other things that's really important right now, and also gives children a sense of not control, but that they're doing something to help, is to do something for others. And it can be a simple send a card to a friend. It can be send a thank you note to the hospital. It can be bring cookies to a neighbor, donate food to a food bank. But it allows a child and, you know, a teenager to feel like they're doing something to help. Because right now, you know, we're supposed to be staying home, we're isolated, we're, you know, so you're still able to create that connection to other people, and that it also takes the focus off of them stressed and worried about, let me do something to help somebody else. And it feels good. So I would say that's another way. And there's so many different ways we can kind of spread kindness or do good deeds for other people. So I would say that. And I would say, this one takes a little, if the child is younger, it certainly would need a parent to kind of help guide, but I think it can be very powerful, and it kind of goes back to our thoughts. And it's helping a child who might be really worried or stressed about the virus or the changes, helping them take their thoughts and turn them positive. Because, you know, the research, when we have positive thoughts, we feel better. So having them think about the doctors who are saving lives, people leaving the hospital strong and healthy, the precautions their teachers are taking to keep them safe, things that allow you to feel like, it is going to be positive. That change is going to be made. There are people and there are good things that are happening. And whether they draw a picture, write a story, just envision it together and talk about it, I think that can be very powerful to help kids also learn, look, you've got control. You can control your thoughts. So if a thought starts to run away with you, you can rein that back in and you can change it. So those would be my tips.
Those are amazing. Thank you. I know. I have to write them down, right?
You don't have to write them down. They're in our COVID coping box.
Oh,
Yes.
I like that. Speaking of that COVID coping box, I can't say that 3 times. I know you got a nice project here, which is called Upside Delivered. It's really, when I got your email, I was like, what is upside? Because this is I got really curious about it. So let's talk about that one. Jenna, will you talk more about the
Sure.
box? Mm-hmm.
So we started a project, and it did come out of our passion for mental health for children, and it's based all on cognitive behavioral therapy. And what that truly means is when we work with CBT with children, we call it the magic circle. It means that exactly what Kristen was just describing, our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings help shape and create our behaviors. So we definitely, over the 6 years, saw some common themes and some strategies that seem to work, and some tools and techniques that we continue to go back to. So what we've done is we've created it's a company called the Upside Delivered, and it is a subscription box service that every 3 months you will get a box that has not just some tools for the child to play with, but also the coaching and the techniques and the idea behind the tools to help a child, whether it's change a thought, whether it's take some breathing and calm down, whether it's just to manage their current mood. And it kind of follows the whole program of cognitive behavioral therapy. But again, it's kind of in this nice, I do have one I can show.
Yeah, show it, please. Okay. Now, actually, when I received the box, I was like, oh, I said, I want to give it to my son first so that he'll open it. But I'm
Right.
like, no, I'm curious more because, when we're talking like in a, I would say, professional psychological point of view, oh, they use the word. So I want to see what it is. It's not like one of those that I would say, what I found useful. These are actually research based. So I was really curious. I read the book and I'm like, oh, this is something, something is up there that we need to talk about. So
It
will you
is.
show us about?
What we'd really like to do is show families, parents, how to work with their children to create the calm. This is our begin box. And again, I can show you that it has basically the how to coach. It basically has a postcard of how the thoughts create the feelings. It has a welcome. And then you can see that on the lid of the box, it references all the tools that are in the box, and whether that's thinking putty, because again, these are very kind of thoughtfully chosen as far as like, look, you can use Play-Doh, but the idea is, remember, when you're using thinking putty, if you're stressed, your thoughts are starting that kind of cycle, and how you can break that cycle. And each of Kristen and I have, over the years, kind of written a couple journals that we put it almost in each box. Like one is the Think Aloud journal, and that one is, again, describing and kind of takes parents and their children on a little journey of kind of think back and think ahead. Kristen created a really nice journal that's called The Story of Tomorrow. And if you want to, because children, when they go to sleep at night, especially kids with anxiety, especially kids with stress, this is the first time maybe throughout the day that their brain is distracted. So what they will do is then the worries start, then the thoughts kind of get away from them. But the story of tomorrow is, look, let's create tomorrow. Let's kind of write down. A lot of times you as a parent may know, okay, I know what we're doing tomorrow, what the plan is. But maybe a 5 or 7-year-old does not know. So it's kind of like, let's just talk about what we're going to do. You have, school, then you've got the dentist, then we're going to wrap up with dinner. So it's those kind of tools that can help with the coaching to help understand anxiety. And of course, we have COVID coping box.
Oh, I'm curious with that.
We're kind of talking about. That's one of our specialty boxes. And another specialty box just kind of near to my heart. It's called Little Box of Self-Esteem, which has some of our writings in it and some tools to help children. We're now working with children ages 5 to 10 know how important little things are and how meaningful little is.
Okay. Actually, I like that when I first saw the basic box or the introductory box. When I saw it, I like that there is a journal there. Like the little, because usually when when my kids were younger, the counselors would actually say, give them a notebook and let them write in the journal. But most kids would, give them a blank page and they're like, they don't know what to do. You're like,
Right.
what do I write? What do I this? So when I was scanning one of the notebooks that you got in there, the journal, I like that it already has a theme, or it already has a to-do list on that day, or a parent could say, oh, today you can write about this. So it's not like a guessing game, because you can't just tell a kid that, oh, what are your feelings today? Write it down.
Right.
You will get like a dot in there or a balloon or whatever.
Yes.
And they tell you, and then they will say, this is what I'm feeling. The end. No, because I had 4 kids. So I have 4 kids. I know what it is.
Yes.
So that's journaling for them, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I like that, for maybe I would say for a mom who has no background, no idea what, how to get these thoughts from their kids, you already made it so simple. Just read, read this. This is your to-do list, you see that, or you can even the words. You're like, you were able to put the right words in there so that they could express those kinds of feelings. Because sometimes it's easy for them to say, I feel sad. And then that's it, the end.
Right.
I do appreciate that. And I think that, Kristen and I are just getting started with this project, and that we are really looking for some feedback, Rochie. So thank you, because I think that we're only going to continue to adapt and make better the journals, the tools that we choose. So it is kind of important to hear from parents about what they need. But the idea is that we're really teaching the magic circle so that parents can use it with kids.
Okay, Kristen, what do you think are the advantages of the box? Because there are like so many box out there for kids.
Everybody's
so what
frozen.
what makes this one so special?
I think 2 things. I think it's delivered directly to you, which most boxes are, but especially in this time, right? It's coming right to your house. It's coming every 3 months. It's got new items and stuff in it, and I think the practicality of it. So your child gets it. They can open it up, and they can immediately start to use the tools. Okay, now there is a guideline on there as to, how we suggest you use them, but there's no right or wrong. It's going to be what works for the child. So they're practical, they can be used immediately. And in addition, and I think this is really what makes ours different than others, is that there's also information there for the parent about the how and the why. For the time when when a parent's got 5 minutes, which isn't often right now, but when they have the time, they can understand this is a research-backed theory. There is evidence that shows CBT techniques really can help with stress, with anxiety, and so providing that in addition to the tools that the child can use really kind of makes our box, I think, unique. I think by having it come every 3 months, it also brings in new tools, new ideas, and it builds upon the previous box. So you're just increasing and you're strengthening those coping skills. And I think what's important to really also kind of highlight is that it's not a replacement for therapy. It's also, it's not, it's more of a support for anybody. Everybody experiences stress and anxiety. So it's not just for children or parents or families who are in need of therapy. It's for anybody who wants to create better mental health habits and stronger coping strategies in a time when it's very stressful. So it really can be used by anyone. And I think too, we really focused on ages 5 to 10, but there are some items in there that older kids could use, or parents, or there's one in there, there's the Buddha board, and we love the Buddha board. We use that with all of our clients, and it's a nice tool. So it just brings in some different tools and techniques that parents and families, whether they're in therapy or not, can really utilize at home, and they're practical. So I think I would say that's kind of the, the advantages and benefits.
Thank you so much for that. And guys, for those who are watching right now, we got a special promo for the Upside Delivered box. If you get a 1-year subscription, you get 1 box free. Well, that is one big deal, because I know everybody now wants a good deal. And I think I know it's not a replacement for therapy, but after seeing the first box, I said, you know what? It is one of those things that, they could use first before they really need to go on a therapy. Because sometimes I can't go to a doctor right now because of the, many regulations, the mask, everything. Like going to a doctor is more stressful than than actually getting sick, right? Because for me, I even told my kids, you're not allowed, because I have the 2 boys, you're not allowed to, because they don't have their taekwondo right now, no classes. So I said, there's no time to spar right now, because I'm not taking you to the emergency room.
Right.
Because I'm scared of going to the emergency room.
I know.
Do they do that virtually at all? Do they do the taekwondo virtually at all?
No, they don't, because their teachers actually want them to do it. Because if you do virtually, you can just look, but you can't see them actually, the techniques and the movements. So, but they're 13 and 11, so 2 boys who are crazy, stuck at home with too much energy.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I think those the boxes that you sent is very good. If you just feel like, oh, maybe I'm stressed, or my kids is getting stressed, or maybe they're looking now of supplemental things to do for their kids, it is it's good, because classes are shortened, they're stuck home. These are something that they could do for probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or even 30 minutes a day, which is I don't, for a parent, I don't have to entertain you for the next 30 minutes or so, right?
Yes.
But it's more than just entertainment. It's actually beneficial for them, because it helps with their stress, or it's a coping mechanism.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, so I'm so excited with that. Oh, for those who are asking, what is it again? It's the Upside Delivered box, and I'm going to put a link after this on the video, so you will be able to go to the website and check it out. Now, I can't believe we're almost done. 1 hour went fast, right?
It did.
I know my stress level is coming down.
Okay. Speaking of stress, any last words, Jenna, for our viewers?
Last words. Absolutely. I don't want to take the same last words Kristen is doing. I think that we are very passionate about mental health for children, and we want to hear from We want to hear from you at Cambridge. We want to hear from you from the Upside Delivered. We want to know what we can do to break stigmas in mental health and to continue to, because we're educators as well as therapists. So we have that combination. And I just would like to say, we'd like to hear from you to try and do what we can as much as we can. We hope to grow the business to be able to give boxes to children who may not be able to afford them. So that's my final thought.
How about you, Kristen?
I've got two final thoughts. I first want to thank you for having us on here, for allowing us this time and the opportunity to talk about such an important topic for, I think, for everybody, especially living in the time we're living right now. So I truly, both Jen and I really appreciate you taking your time and your live show to share with your viewers our thoughts and certainly our product as well. So we're very grateful for that. And as Jenna said, all of our contact information can be found on our website. Please reach out if you've got any serious concerns, if you've got any questions or ideas. Our hope, our goal is really that we can help families begin to lay the foundation for healthy and positive mental health habits that go well into adulthood. And that is our hope. And, we thank you again for having us on here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you so much, Jenna. And thank you so much for our viewers for staying with us for almost an hour. We hope that we're able to help you find the signs of stress, anxiety, and also and also help you guys know some coping skills and what you could do to help your kids this time of pandemic and time of uncertainty. So again, thank you, Jenna, and thank you, Kristen, for sharing your expertise and your time in this show. And we hope to hear from you soon, and we can't wait to share more about Upside Delivered.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.